The police are working on a strategy to address a recent uptick in robberies. A national symposium on job creation in the green and blue economy underway. Government responds to opposition criticisms about its plan for the fishing industry. And in sports, Barbados take Day 1 honours over the Leewards in the regional 4-day tournament.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. Work is set to begin in the island's fishing industry shortly. This from a number of government officials in response to Democratic Labour Party criticisms. Lorna Jones has that story.
Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey, Acting Minister of National Beautification and the Green and Blue Economy Charles Griffith, Chief Fisheries Officer Dr. Shelley Ann Cox, and other officials toured the St. John facility. The officials have been responding to a DLP video circulating on social media that the seaweed harvester has been left to rot at Concept Bay.
Monies are going to be released very soon, and then you begin to work. But I understand the tendering document should be out shortly, and hopefully the
community centre
should definitely be fixed within this. Started and completed within this financial year. There's some other works like the boatyard and some works across years, but we anticipate that the work will begin very soon.
Minister Humphrey, then Minister of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, notes the seaweed harvester is currently undergoing repairs as they await parts to be returned to set the machine into motion once again. According to him, government has repaired the jetties at Oystons and Speightstown fish markets and has done upgrades at Oystons, Speightstown, Pile Bay and the Bridgetown fish markets, with the Millie Eiffel fish market in Western St. James set to be completed. Additionally, work on the slipway at Concept Bay is set to be completed by next week.
Those boulders are to be moved by the end of this week, I'm told, and that slipway should be fully functional in a week. And the other thing is that there's going to be a slipway in the estimates for Bridgetown to allow us to haul up boats properly in Bridgetown. The port has, as part of its master plan, another slipway, a major haul-out facility to allow us to haul out boats.
Meanwhile, Minister Griffith, who is also the representative for St. John, says work is pressing steadily ahead.
Just realize that St. John is rising, as I like to say. And the fact that we're here today is a clear indication. You would have seen the drawings that indicate that this is not something that was done yesterday. Plans are in train to fix this facility to ensure that the fisher folks at this location have the very best of what Minister Humphrey would have indicated is happening across all of the other locations on island.
And according to the officials, no person or entity will stop the projects that are underway to ensure the fisher folk continue with their livelihoods. Lorna Jones, CBC News.
Government is intensifying its efforts to respond to the global climate crisis and to ensure citizens are equipped to respond to the changes that it brings. This morning, several high-ranking officials gathered at the Barbados Hilton for the start of the National Symposium on the Just Transition and Job Creation in the Green and Blue Economy. That 3-day session is being held in conjunction with the National International Labour Organization and the UN Partnership for Action on Green Economy. Rianne Phillips attended and filed this report.
The 3-day session seeks to provide participants with an understanding of the challenges and opportunities associated with transitioning to a climate-resilient, sustainable, low-carbon future with a specific focus on renewable energy. During virtual addresses, local and ILO officials highlighted the importance of the talks.
These conversations are necessary to the local, regional, and international level. Therefore, over the next 3 days, I encourage you to delve into the issues, opportunities, and challenges associated with just transition. Certainly, the answer does not rest with any one individual, any one sector or entity. Just transition means different things to different people in different spaces. However, in concerning just transition, we must have a holistic approach.
Events such as this National Symposium embody the essence of collaboration, social partnership, knowledge exchange, and integrative policy development. And I again echo the call by Honourable Minister Adrian Ford for us to see if we can make this an annual event.
And Labour Minister Colin Jordan has elaborated on the impacts of climate change on the workforce.
We've seen it in Dominica not too long ago, where in about 12 hours, over 100% of the nation's GDP was wiped out. That impacts workers because it means that stores are shut. It means that manufacturing plants are shut. Those are the negative impacts. We have to build resilience. We have to adapt. And that has to be our focus. It means then that there's going to be the need for flexibility. Businesses and employers have to be flexible. Workers will have to be flexible because we are transitioning. We are in a transition. From a government perspective, we're going to do all that we can to make sure that the transition is just.
Over the next few days, sessions on opportunities for job creation and regional best practices, among other things, will be rolled out. The talks are scheduled to wrap up on April 12th. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
47-year-old Shavi Dublin is in pain following the death of her fiance Andel McGarrell, who fell to his death at an Apes Hill construction site on Monday. Well, still in a state of shock, Ms. Dublin says she's struggling to come to grips with losing her soulmate. Trevor Thorpe has that story.
15 minutes after Shavi Dublin and her fiance Andel McGarrell spoke on Monday, he died tragically on a job site at Apes Hill, St. James, where he was working as a carpenter. Before he started work that day, Mr. McGarrell sought to comfort his fiancée, who was fighting to cope with the loss of her 27-year-old daughter, Kenisha Durant, who died in her sleep, leaving 2 young children behind.
I was in Guyana, so I speak to him in the morning. So he called me about 7 something and he tell me, he said, babe, he said, no, today is not your day. I said, but I didn't answer because I was crying. So he said, I don't want you to cry, I want you to be strong. He said, no, you're a strong woman. He said, I would help you to get through with this. He said, remember you got your grandchildren to live for, because my daughter died and leave 2 children and their father passed too. Right, because my daughter died a year and 4 months after she fiancé. So then he said, he going to set up for work outside. So I said, okay. So he said, love you. I said, love you too. And 15 minutes after, I get a call that he fall off a scaffold.
Now, instead of planning their wedding, scheduled for December, Miss Dublin now has to plan her partner's funeral.
Now that he passed, it's hard for me to be inside of this house. It's so hard, right? But I'm just trying. I'm just trying asking God for faith to get through this, because I don't know. I can't eat since Saturday. I eat because since Saturday I wasn't getting no appetite and I'm trying to eat, but it's not even moving. And it's like from one thing to the next, because I'm just trying to get over just trying to cope with my daughter's death. Because she was 27, she wasn't sick or anything, so she just went to sleep and then wake up. I went into her room to wake her up and waking up a dead child.
Ms. Dublin says her partner's 11-year-old daughter, who is preparing to sit the 2024 11 Plus examination in Guyana, is yet to be informed about his death.
One of his daughters born here, she's 11, but her mother went back to Guyana, so she's back there with him, and they can't even tell she that she father died, because she about to sit the exam. Yeah, so they didn't tell she anything as yet.
Though yet not set in stone, Ms. Dublin says the intention is to take the body back to Guyana for burial. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
Trevor, thank you. Coming up, support for plans to increase the number of buses that can accommodate people with disabilities. Plans to increase the number of buses that can accommodate people with disabilities have been welcomed by members of that community. President of the Barbados National Organization of the Disabled, Pero Holloway, highlighted it as one of the high points of the 2024 budget. The National Disabilities Unit is expected to purchase 2 buses annually for the next 3 years.
It's a tremendous headache and a financial burden, as Mr. would tell you, as our treasurer. We have to pay out significant funds in transport daily, and any entity, government or otherwise, who is in the process of providing transport that is more suitable for our pockets, we have to jump and rejoice about that.
Mr. Holloway was a guest on Morning Barbados. Another aspect of the budget he welcomes is the expansion of the categories of people with disabilities who can access non-contributory old age pensions from October, although he acknowledges some others feel like they've been left out. Mr. Holloway also takes issue with a practice by some business places as they seek to prevent the unauthorized people from parking in spaces designated for people with disabilities.
The establishments have begun to put down no parking signs in the middle of the disabled parking spaces. And there were 3 that I would not mention, that I frequently go to where they put a sign, no parking. And our drivers are familiar with the parking space, but if I go with somebody else and I said, well, is there disabled parking? And they say, oh, we can't park there because there's a no parking sign, so it don't seem like we could park there either. So I can understand the rationale behind the business place putting a no parking sign in the disabled parking space to prevent persons who they don't want to park there. But what it is also doing is preventing us who want to park there from parking there also.
Muslims in Barbados have been urged to support their brothers and sisters in Palestine in any way that they can as the war in Gaza continues. The call has come from Imam of the Darul Fazal Mosque, Hanzala Gangat. He was addressing Muslims gathered in a field near the mosque in Lowlands, Christchurch to mark the start of Eid al-Fitr. Eid is typically a time of celebration as it marks the end of the month of sacrificing for Ramadan.
Remember, there are kids in Palestine whose happiness was stolen from them. Why? Because their parents were martyred in this brutal genocide carried out against them. So my advice, first of all, as mentioned to myself and to others, my brothers and sisters, let us unite and become men and women of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us help in any way, shape or form. Some may be able to help with their wealth. Some may be able to raise awareness, they may be able to raise their voice, they may be able to speak up about it. We should do that.
Minister Colin Jordan, who has responsibility for ecclesiastical affairs, was on hand for the celebrations. He believes consideration for others is one of the teachings of the Islamic faith that even non-Muslims should follow.
All others who may not be of your faith, but who can spend some time reflecting on good values, who can spend some time depriving themselves so that others can benefit. And we believe that if every one of us in this country is able to think about others more than we think about ourselves, then our country will be a much better place for all of us to live.
This story, 3 robberies within the last week, and all have in common that there are food establishments, 2 in St. Philip, 1 at Sheraton. Lawmen are on the alert and say they are making headway in getting the guns off the street. Wendy Burt joins us live now after having spoken with one victim. Wendy?
Well, good evening to you, Pearson. Good evening to our viewers. Now, a Chinese restaurant, a small food vendor, and the KFC outlet at Sheraton are the most recent victims of the recent uptick in armed robberies across the island. The Chinese restaurant at 6 Roads remains closed, while KFC Sheraton was very much open for business. But the mall management told CBC they had no comment at this time. Food vendor Mona Harris Atkins did speak with the CBC about the scary situation last Friday.
It came through the door, so I'm like, the social work part of me behaved as if I knew this guy. So I was like, wait, big man, what are you doing here? Then he said, where's the money? Where's the money? I said, what money? What money, big man? What are you doing here? So then, when he noticed that I approached him that way, so he figured that I recognized him. So he turned his back towards me. But then when he turned his back, the other girl was in the grill room. You know, Michelle, she was in the grill room. So he went to her, what about the money is? What about the money? She herself said, what money?
She admits they were all scared, and initially she was thinking of closing things down. But given that she provides employment for others, she can't.
But then the other lady that works there, she told me, I asked her, I said, will you come to work? She said, yes, I will come, man. We can't let people run our lives, you know? But then the boys, when they ran, a few of them fell and got scraped, you know, or their knees scraped, the other one got cut underneath his foot. But when the officers came, they all came back and, you know, said, look, we can't get these men to be, you know, to make us afraid.
Lawmen are telling the public they should not succumb to fear because they have a strategy to ensure that the uptick is brought under control. Commissioner of Police Richard Boyce issued a statement not long ago saying they have noticed the aggravated situations.
Robberies by persons who were in possession of firearms. These offenses resulted in the culprit stealing sums of cash from some business establishments located mainly in the southern part of the country. The police service has been carrying out extensive investigations into these matters, and significant progress has been made in arresting a number of perpetrators who were involved in planning and actually committing these offenses.
The commissioner added that they have also netted some weapons.
Our interventions have also resulted in the seizure of 5 firearms and ammunition from these perpetrators. We are focused and resolute in continuing our investigations into these matters and also deploying our resources in the prevention of any fallout in the management of similar incidents. We wish to assure the public that we are confident in our strategies which have been implemented to deal with this recent uptick in crime. We encourage all law-abiding citizens to continue their partnership with us and assist us in keeping our country safe. Let us unite against the criminal elements.
The police service has assured that they will continue to fight against these crimes.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power Inn. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Anne-Marie Burt joins me now with all the latest in all the sports tonight. Anne-Marie, good evening to you.
Well, to netball now, Barbados Baby Gems have completed a three-peat at the Jean-Pierre Caribbean Netball Youth Championships in St. Lucia. Last night in the final, they defeated Grenada 27-19 to play the 2024 tournament undefeated. The Barbados goal shooter, Kiana Hart, made 19 goals from 21 attempts, while goal attacker Taisha Trotman scored 7 of 10. We have the highlights.
Throw into Barbados. We can see a slight change in the lineup for both teams. We can see that Barbados' goal defense now becomes a goalkeeper. Okay, and Barbados receives the ball comfortably and the goal attack scores. The score is now 1 to Barbados, 0 to Grenada. Goal defense to win attack to goal attack, and once the goal attack gets it, she gives it to a goal shooter. I think she's now making those passes with her eyes closed. And we have a converted goal by the goal shooter for Grenada. The score is now 14-all. Throw into Grenada. It's an interception by Barbados goal defense. Center to Barbados. Yes, I'm back. Goal shooter gets the ball contact on the goalkeeper. The goal attack takes the ball and she scores. We could see that nice action and the spin of the ball from the Bajan shooters. We have a good grab for Grenada's center. And she tries to get her goal shooter where there's a contact on the goalkeeper. She assumes a position and she scores. You can see the gap is closing, but will it be enough to make Grenada victorious in Barbados ball? Barbados finds a win attack to center. Easy pass to the goal shooter, and the goal shooter scores. You can see by the bench for Barbados how excited they are. Center pass to Barbados. So some of the crowd favorites would be on Team Barbados, the goal shooter, the goal defense player, and the wing defense player for Barbados. On the Grenadian team, you could see the crowd favorite would be the goal shooter, the wing attack, the new wing attack, who seems to be feeding the goal shooter, and the goal defense for Grenada. We could already see the Bajans getting ready to go wild. The score is now 27 to Barbados, 19 to Grenada. You could see both teams have played excellently, and it would have
and the jubilation
down
begins
to
by
the team with
Barbados. Commiserations to Team Grenada on a well thought out
once again
match.
This was the last game, the final game.
Congratulations, Team Barbados.
The Baby Gems returned home this evening, and we'll have a report on that in tomorrow's Sports Night.
The Business Report is brought to you with the kind compliments of the National Insurance and Social Security Service. More than a contribution, it's your lifeline.
In the Business Report, Barbadians are being advised to practice what an IT specialist is calling cyber hygiene to protect themselves from hackers. President of Information Systems Security Association, the Barbados chapter, Anthony Harris, explains that it involves new strategies at an individual level in an online world that's not safe. He was a panelist at a Central Bank of Barbados-sponsored forum on managing cyber risk in Barbados' financial sector. Mr. Harris says the COVID pandemic has dragged populations across the world online, a move which has strengthened the hands of hackers.
You have to pivot yourself to appreciate that the world that you live in, the online world, is not safe. And you have to separate your identities. Some people posture that you should have an email address that you use for everybody, that you just give out to everybody. And then you have an email address you give to your relatives or people close to you, that when you get an email from them, you know it's legit because it's not been circulating. It's not been a part of some newsletter or something like that. So there are things you can do to protect yourself as the bad actors come looking for you.
No loan payments for the next 3 months and a 40-inch television. Those were the top prizes at stake in the recently held Axel Finance Easter Express loan competition. Crystal Boyce took the top prize of 3 months of loan payments, while Risha Barker won the second prize of a flat-screen TV. Business Development Officer Kofi Amsterdam, before presenting the prizes, gave some background to the competition.
So our first place person, they would get, the 3 months loan on Axel Finance, and the second place individual would be getting a flat screen TV. Again, I don't want to say first and second because with Axel Finance, everyone is indeed a winner.
And back with another burst of sports is Anne-Marie Burke.
I promised to go right on to the high seas as the Republic Bank's Sir Charles Williams International Game Fishing Tournament sailed off this morning with one of the biggest fleet of boats participating. Along the northwestern coastline just off Port St. Charles, this was the scene for the start of the Republic Bank's Sir Charles Williams International Game Fishing Tournament. It was around 6 a.m. that the boats got off to a bimini start, more commonly known as a shotgun start. And when things settled down, the crews set to task. Coordinator of the tournament, Mike Parry, says this year is the biggest to date.
This is the unprecedented biggest year we have had in the tournament since its inception. The international fishing tournament has been around since 1961. We're in the 7th decade, and this has been the biggest we've had. And what's more important is that it's now been endorsed by the Barbados government. So we have 4 elements of government now participating in this tournament, and that's because the government's push for sports tourism, and it's been a huge successful event. And we've had an unprecedented start and participation from people from all over the Caribbean, as well as some people coming in from North America and the UK for the tournament. We've had 160 anglers that will be participating over the next few days, and we have 30 boats that are participating in the tournament, which is a large amount of boats that we have in Barbados.
There was early success for 2 of the junior anglers who had early catches of sailfish, and it is expected that across the tournament the catches will be fruitful, not only in weight but quantity. This year also carries the largest cash prize in the tournament's history. It runs over the next 3 days.
Thursday are fishing days. Friday is a lay day, a day of rest, and then Saturday is the final day. So there are 3 days of fishing.
The sweet taste of BSAC victory was still lingering in Waterford this morning as Double Crown champions Combermere were in celebration mode again following their historic feat. The Dasani Powerade BSAC Kings and Queens for 2024 continued their merriment with a motorcade which started just around 11 a.m. at the school's compound and journeyed through Government Hill, Colomarock and Bridgetown. Coaches, teachers and all scholars joined the winning athletes on a music truck to celebrate the monumentous occasion. Head of the Physical Education Department, Michael Small, said it's the school's way of honoring the athletes for their tremendous success on the track and in the field.
As you know, everybody doesn't do a double all the time. It's a historic occasion, first time in 27 years. So we thought we should celebrate with a motorcade. We wanted to have it earlier, but time didn't permit that. So we're going to go on the motorcade, then we come back here, we will have like a picnic, and that will be the celebrations for today.
Jumper Tyler Mears said the BSAC double has created a greater sense of pride among the athletes.
We have done the double. It hasn't been a while since Combermere did that, so we are beyond proud and grateful for this opportunity.
What's the feeling like among the school and the school vibe? Obviously, Combermere, a rich school spirit. Talk to me about that and how important was it for you guys to win?
Well, it was very important. This is necessary coming from COVID years. We definitely expected to win back in 2019 before COVID. So the vibe wasn't there at first, but with the supporters and the help of the fans and spectators, we were able to do the double.
Well, that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen for the crew. To all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.